Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make one of the most basic and traditional forms of medicine available. They're still available today, but this was essentially how most medicine was made, a method like this or similar to this, up until about 1920. Now the things we'll need, we don't need a lot. It's herbal medicine, so we'll need some herbs. Today we've got astragalus. And it's the root of the plant, the dried root. Astragalus is used in Chinese medicine, also known as huang qi. It's mainly immuno booster, so good coming into cold and flu season as we are now in Australia. As well as they use it for longevity, so they say you take that and you live longer. We're going to need alcohol. I just have vodka. Generally you want, for this, something which is 40% at least. Vodka's a good choice. It's clear, it's neutral. Some people use brandy. You can use any spirit essentially. It's just that it will flavour the alcohol differently. I've just always generally used vodka. I'll keep that up there. This one apparently too, it's made from Russian winter wheat, but also has Siberian ginseng extracts, which I didn't notice till I got it home, which is also kind of cool. Not that I think it's necessarily a herbal medicine, it's an alcoholic drink, but nice to have that in there. That's Erythrococcus centicosus is Siberian ginseng as well, and that's also another adaptogen and immunoprotective as well. You need a jar to make it in, with a lid. You'll need a little bit of baking paper, I'll explain why later. Measuring cup. And something to put it in when you've done. So generally for administering little dropper bottles like that. So, what is a tincture? A tincture is essentially an extract of the active constituents of a plant. In this case, the active constituents in astragalus are found in the root, and they're trapped in there. And generally, like if you've ever had herbal tea, which most people have tried a herbal tea before, that's one way. That's called an infusion. So you're extracting some of the polar or water-soluble components from the plant. This is extracting non-polar components through using a solvent in this case, and you need one which is also able to be ingested by humans, so alcohol is mainly what people use. Some people also use vinegar at times or vegetable glycerin. Alcohol is the most effective. So what we want to do to make a tincture, actually before I do this I should note, we're doing this on a new moon. It's the new moon today, a great time. Traditionally the new moon is when people, well back in the day the alchemists started all their tinctures, spagyrics and things like that. And they work on a lunar calendar. So what they do is, they take the new moon when the energy of the moon is at its lowest. What we do is we have 50 grams here. So we'll put that into this jar here. And because it's the new moon, traditionally this is when you start your projects. It's when everything takes off, everything's fresh. It leads up over about a fortnight to the full moon. At the full moon, you've finished your projects, everything's complete, you've got the power of that full shining moon there. With this, we leave it an alchemist's month, which is about 40 days. I'll be leaving it 42 to fit in with the moon cycles. Excuse me. I just had some tea. So 40 days was traditionally how long we leave it. So with this, we've got the new moon over 2 weeks leading up to the full moon. And then we have another full lunar month where the moon will wane down to another new moon and back up to the full moon. So we start on a new moon, finish on a full moon. Way tinctures are made, depending on what the herb is, they have a ratio of how much alcohol or solvent you add to the herb. The literature I found online for astragalus suggests a 1:5 ratio. So for every gram of herb, we use 5 mils of 40% alcohol. I'll put some links below to an astragalus tincture recipe, as well as a page from the American College of Natural Medicine, I think it was. And they have a really good chart. It shows you a lot of different herbs and the different ethanol or alcohol contents you should be using to extract from those. For example, St. Mary's thistle or Silybum marinarum uses the seeds, and they use up to a 95% ethanol to extract from that, whereas something relating back to cordophone hext and the first track off that, Artemisia absinthium or wormwood, you would only use 25% alcohol. For that, I would just water down vodka. So we're going to do a 1:5. So because we've got 50 grams of the astragalus, we want to use 250 mils of vodka, or 1 cup. So I've got my measuring jug here. Everything here is just being cleaned in regards to washing up. So I've just washed it up normal as you would wash up anything in your sink. You don't have to sanitize as such with this. This has come straight out of the packet. As well as vodka being 40%, it's reasonably antibacterial anyway. So this is how easy it is to make a tincture. What we do is we take 1 cup of vodka, and we add it to our herbs. Now, the traditional folk method of this, done in people's homes before the Industrial Revolution and before technology and a lot of measuring and all that sort of thing that was done, they would use the folk method, which is kind of similar to this. What they've done, you can see there's a bit of space between the herbs and the liquid. And I mean, this is good, they're dried herbs, so they'll expand with the alcohol and the water that's in there. But traditionally, in a folk method, you would pour enough to cover, about 1 inch in a jar like this above the herbs. So this is pretty good, it's pretty accurate with 1:5 on this. So the reason we have the baking paper here is, if you're just using a jar with a normal kind of lid, this will stop the lid from rusting because the alcohol and the water component in the alcohol will make the lid rust. So you put that on like that, screw it on nice and tight. And then just want to give it a bit of a shake, mix it all in. And you want to do this once a day, at least for the first 2 weeks, if not more, like every time you walk past it generally, give it a shake. And you want to store that somewhere reasonably warm, but you want to keep it out of the sun, or keep it out of any light really. You can do this by, if I can find my things, just a plain paper bag, pop it in a paper bag. If you want to keep it on your kitchen counter, just so it stays a little bit warm, that will help help it brew a little better. Like so. And then within 6 weeks, you strain it off and put it into your dropper bottles, and it's ready to use. And that's basically it. You can do this with just about any plants, any herbs, but I would recommend, I always suggest research the herbs thoroughly first, find out whether they're right for you, talk to herbalists, go see a naturopath. They will also point you in the right direction. But these are things which people have been doing in their houses for thousands of years, absolute thousands of years. And most medicine, like I say, was like this until about 1920 and the introduction of pharmaceutical medicines. See, I wrote down a lot of notes for this today, but see if there's anything I've missed. I think that was about it, to be honest. Like I say, I do it with the moon. I follow you can see here we have a lunar calendar. So I can follow and do things with the lunar cycles. That's traditionally how it was always done. I tend to stick to that tradition. Whether it makes a difference or not, I think that's up to the individual taking it as well. Like I say, once again, the most important thing with this is research your herbs first. Make sure you have no contraindications or conditions to begin with first, which say that you should not be using this herb. Talk to herbalists, talk to nutritionists, consult the internet, consult books, and live well, live healthy. Anyway, we'll see you next time. And I knew I'd forgotten something. Dosage. So, in your little dropper bottles like this, generally for most herbs you want to be taking about between 5 and 20 drops twice a day. It's something that you really have to feel out though, what's right for you. Once again, talk to your herbalists, talk to your naturopaths, do research online. There's plenty of places selling tinctures as well. This is a very cheap way to make it. But generally they will give advice as well on the side of bottles. So say 5 to 20 drops twice a day. It's usually what you want. But start small and work your way up from there. It's always best to start with less and add more. That way you won't feel overwhelmed if it is something that doesn't quite agree with you. Like I say, it's a very cheap method of healthcare and one that's been proven over millennia. Anyway, again, I'll see you next time. All the best.